Hello and welcome to Hawks Recap Off-Season Edition, also Rush Hour Traffic Edition. In the car again, on the commute, and it's of course city traffic rush hour. Hooray. I wanted to get this video out before the Stanley Cup Finals happened, or started, but that is not the case. First game was last night, and it was quite a doozy one. That was a weird one for sure. The Preds got a taste of their own medicine after advancing to the final with being outshot in Game 6 by the Ducks, 41-18, and then Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final, they hold the Penguins to 12 shots and lose. So a little bit of taste of their own medicine, but they look good. The Preds looked very good, but the Penguins just found a way to make it happen. Rene has to be better for them to win, otherwise the Penguins are going to be back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. Speaking of back-to-back Stanley Cup appearances or champions, the Penguins are the first team since the 08-09 Penguins or the 08-09 Red Wings to make it to back-to-back Stanley Cup Finals. And if they end up winning, beating Nashville, they would be the first back-to-back champions since the 97-98 Red Wings, I believe. I don't have it up in front of me, but I believe that would be the case. So essentially they would become the first back-to-back Stanley Cup champions in the salary cap era. So that would be quite a feat in itself. Now, if that would be the case, that would also mean that the Penguins would have 3 cups within the last 9 years and match the Blackhawks with the same amount of cups in similar amount of time span. Basically, both teams would have a very, very successful last decade. Some people will say that, have some sort of ego, dick measuring contest, saying the Penguins would be better than the Hawks in that time span. I go ahead and say that. I don't really care. The Hawks have won 3 Stanley Cups in 6 years, so arguably that's better than 3 Stanley Cups in 9 years. However, the Penguins would be back-to-back champions, something that the Hawks hadn't been able to do. So that would put the Penguins above in that regard. But all in all, it's both teams. This is assuming that the Penguins would win. Both teams would have 3 cups in essentially a decade. I would call both of them dynasties. And having dynasties in a salary cap era on either side is extremely impressive. Penguins being kind of the dynasty of the East, Hawks being the dynasty of the West. Anything other than that, like I said, you're basically just you're dick measuring at that point. If I was the Hawks, or if I was any team, I would want to have 3 cups in 9 years, or I would love to have 3 cups in 6 years. 3 cups is 3 cups in a very short amount of time span. A lot of teams would love to have that on either side. They would either love to have the Penguins or the Hawks track record lately. So I'm just gonna quell those talks right now. It to me doesn't really matter. Don't really care. I don't know why I haven't opened this up. I like having the sunroof open. Feels like it's more spacious in here. It's really started to rain quite hard here. Let's see if I can talk over the rain and the wipers. But getting back to the game 1, the Preds, in terms of shots and play, seemed to really dominate the Penguins. I mean, the Penguins went 40 minutes, or around 40 minutes, without registering a shot on goal, and then the first shot they get after that amount of time they put past Pecorine. They made most of their opportunities. The Penguins did all their damage, or most of their damage, not all their damage, most of their damage in that first period after PK Subban's goal was overturned when the review showed that Forsberg was offside entering the zone. And that call there, that no goal or that goal reversal, really shifted the momentum from the Preds really early on in that game to the Penguins for a good 7 minutes. And in those 7 minutes, the Penguins got 3 out of their 5 goals. So, and it's interesting, there was a lot of feedback, a lot of commentary about that offsides call, or the review, the challenge that took away a goal, especially in the Stanley Cup Final. But according to the rule, that was the correct call. It was offsides. But I think a lot of people's issue with it was the fact that the play went on for another 30 seconds or so before that goal was called. So did that offside really lead to that goal? Well, yes, I mean it did. He was offside entering the zone. I mean, you could say if you're gonna call it offsides, you gotta call it offsides for any time, like any point in time, no matter how much time elapses between the offsides and the goal. If the play, if the puck is still in the zone and they are able to tire out the defense and everything, then yes, it leads to the goal. I mean, for example, if, say, on a power play, the penalty kill unit clears the puck, but just barely, and the ref misses the puck going outside the zone and thinks the defender kept it in, but in reality it did leave the zone. Now the penalty kill unit can't make a change, and so they're out there for an extended period of time, and it may lead to a goal. Well, I mean, should they just not, be able to overturn that? I think you basically have to, if it's offsides, no matter the circumstance, it's offsides. It is what it is. With that said, the angle that at least the broadcast was shown, and Toronto might have different or more views of it, but at least the angle that we were shown in the broadcast, it made it very tough to tell if Forsberg's foot was off the ice or not as he was entering the zone. And so, and obviously you'd like to be able to see all the different views, but sometimes I guess that's not the case. But at the same time, it would be nice to also get a better explanation from refs when they do overturn a call. They don't seem to always explain it as carefully as, say, the NFL refs do when a challenge reverses a call. That is one thing the refs can do better, or at least the league. Maybe it's not just the refs, but the league could do better at in these situations. But another thing I'd really love to see is the offside rule getting changed from requiring a player to have contact with the ice in the onside position. I'd rather see it where the blue line just gets extended vertically up, and so as long as the player is vertically onside, meaning that this, his skate may not be touching the ice, but it's still in the neutral zone portion of the, neutral zone. It is in the neutral zone. Oh my God, that was awful wording. Sorry about that. As long as he has some part of his body in the neutral zone area when the puck is going onside, it should be considered onside. NHL rinks, or hockey rinks in general, have always had the blue line extend along the boards there vertically. So from a camera angle perspective, it makes it easier to see, if more cut and dry, to see if the player is onside. Also, it would allow for technology such as FIFA's goal line technology to be able to help with those challenges and help determine if a player was onside. So that is something I would love to see changed. However, Bettman recently stated that the goalie interference and offside challenge rules have worked perfectly. I'm paraphrasing that. I don't know if that's exactly what he said, but it's along those lines. Not quite sure if I agree with that. However, unless they're talking about that it works perfectly in the sense that people are talking about it and therefore the NHL is getting exposure because of it. Because I don't think it's working perfectly if you're considering that it's coming up with the correct calls, because nobody really knows right now what goalie interference is or what offsides is at times. So that was kind of an interesting comment. All right, enough with the Stanley Cup Final for this video, because this is a Hawks recap video and we got to talk Hawks a little bit. So some news that came out since last video is Kempny got extended, I believe 900,000 AAV. So that is pretty good in my book. Pretty cheap, and with the very, very low possibility of Brian Campbell and Johnny Oduya coming back, we definitely need a guy who has some experience with the Hawks organization, played in 50 games for the Hawks last year, had only 8 points in that span, but Corsi and Fenwick, if you believe in advanced stats, were above 50% in each of those. So you could say he played fairly decently. I liked what I saw from Kempny last year. I also liked what I saw from Forsling. I think Forsling can be a really, really good player. It may take a few years, but I think he will. So being able to get guys like that to replace Campbell and Oduya, have cheap contracts as well, is definitely a bonus, and getting Kempny extended like that certainly is the right direction there. Obviously, we'll know more once we know what the salary cap's going to be for next year, how that's going to shake up our lineup, also how the expansion draft is going to play a part. We'll know more once the list of protected players comes out. I believe that's coming out June 18th. Could be wrong about that, but I believe that's what I saw. So coming up fast. I mean, the expansion draft and then the entry-level draft coming up shortly after that. All in June here. So get ready, because a lot of things could be changing. Until then, enjoy the rest of the Stanley Cup Final. Should be really good hockey. Only 6 possible games left in the NHL season, so get your hockey viewing in while you still can. And yeah, stay safe, make good decisions, and go Hawks.